Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today. Now, I am going to start making some videos here on all the pyramids in Egypt, and this series is just going to take me quite a long time. It should keep me busy because there's over 100 pyramids in Egypt, and some of them, well, I'm going to still have to find. But I thought we would start talking about the pyramids with the pyramid that, according to Egyptologists, is the very first one built by an Egyptian pharaoh, Djoser, coming from the 3rd dynasty. And here is the Pyramid of Djoser, and I just think the chronological order of the pyramids and their builders has some serious questions to it, and I just think it's very flimsy, the evidence that this is based on. Personally, I think the Great Pyramid was the first, maybe, or original pyramid, and I don't think that was the beginning of something. I think that was the end of something. And then the later pyramids, or at least some of them, were attempts at duplicating what was already standing at Giza, and I have stated that once and I'll state it again. And I could be wrong, but then again, maybe not. But let's just go down and take a look at the Pyramid of Djoser, and I'm going to do a little bit of reading. And I have serious questions as to the original builder of this, but let's go down and take a peek. Now here is a good look at the very front of the Pyramid of Djoser. And the first thing that you notice is that there is obviously different periods of construction, and that is the basic history of this place. Djoser's supposed architect, Imhotep, one of the most famous people coming from ancient Egyptian history, is said to have constructed this. But did he construct this himself? Was there something already standing here? Well, I'm going to show you that certainly Djoser was not the builder of the original constructions that were here. And if we just zoom in, there you can see obviously different periods of construction in this mastaba style step pyramid. But right around the bottom, you notice these perfectly constructed, fitted together with no mortar blocks that look like blocks in Peru and the Sphinx Temple and the Osirian and other ancient sites around the world. Just to me, eye test, seems something was here originally, and maybe the Egyptians just constructed this pyramid or rebuilt it or tried to rebuild what was already here. And here you can see what maybe you could say are casing stones, but they appear to be of the highest order of construction and craftsmanship. And then this original construction, or what was already here, just seems to be kind of lost and buried in the later constructions. And this pyramid does not align to true north and south. It's off by a few degrees. Did the Egyptians just fail in their attempt to coordinate pyramid that was constructed true north and south originally? Well, that's a fair question to ask, I guess. But as you can see here, construction or attempts at refurbishing this are still going on today. Here we are out in the courtyard, and here you can see obviously different building constructions, and I believe this place has existed throughout all of dynastic Egypt, and many people built around here, including Djoser and his architect Imhotep, when the Greeks took over, his name was changed to Asclepius. I just wanted to mention that. But this is a fascinating place, and what's under the ground here is most interesting. And I just want to jump over to a few different websites and do some reading. Now here is Djoser. There is an inscription, or his image in here, in a south tomb, what it is called. But there are other pharaohs that have left their markings and their images and their cartouches in this pyramid. And in the book written in 1837 that I have referred to, he did take a little journey to Saqqara. He never mentions Djoser's name. He just mentions a few different pharaohs. So a clear attribution of this pyramid was not clear to the person who visited here in 1837. And I have read some sites on the Pyramid of Djoser, some websites that have pretty good articles, and a few of them say there is no ancient name for this temple. Well, in the book written in 1837, there is an ancient name for the Pyramid of Djoser, and the translation is the Pyramid of Degrees. That is the ancient name for this place, the Pyramid of Degrees, and why it is called that is anybody's guess. Now, one thing it says in that book in 1837 about going underground, underneath the step pyramid, is that it appeared to the author that to be much more like a mausoleum instead of the funeral tomb of one pharaoh, and he was very clear about that. Now, that relief of Djoser was found, and also a statue of Djoser here was found outside. But what else was found here, I think, is very telling. Now, let me just read here, and this is very important, I think, and it suggests that Djoser, for sure, was not the original builder of this. It says, "The underground passages are vast, and one of the most mysterious discoveries inside are of stone vessels. Over 40,000 of these vessels of various forms and shape were found in two of the descending shafts of the pyramid, and these shafts and tunnels under the Saqqara pyramid and running all under Saqqara go for kilometers, and there have been millions of bird mummies and dog mummies and other things found. But under the step pyramid of Djoser, it says these vessels are inscribed with the names of rulers from the 1st and 2nd dynasty of Egypt, and are made from all kinds of stones such as diorite, limestone, alabaster, siltstone, and slate. Names of the kings such as Narmer, Jur, Den, Abjib, and others from the 1st and 2nd dynasty have been inscribed on things found under the step pyramid. And one thing a ruler of Egypt would never do is put previous names of rulers in his monument. So that proves Djoser was not the original constructor, and something already existed here before Djoser came along in Imhotep. That is crystal clear to me. Now it says there is no agreement among scholars and archaeologists on why the vessels were placed in the tomb of Djoser, or what they were supposed to represent. The archaeologist Lauer, who excavated most of the pyramid complex, believes they were originally stored toward the end of the 2nd dynasty and were given a proper burial by Djoser in his pyramid to honor his predecessors, and that is complete crap. There are other historians, however, who claim the vessels were dumped into the shafts as yet another attempt to prevent grave robbers from getting into the king's burial chamber, and that sounds like a theory made up by Egyptologists. Sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. And you may ask, was Djoser's body found in this pyramid? No pharaoh or king of Egypt's body has ever been found in a pyramid. Djoser was never found in here, just a statue, a relief, nothing that distinguishes him from other pharaohs who left their signatures in this structure. And here is one of the most ancient things coming from all of Egypt, the Djed pillar. And there are Djed pillar columns at this step pyramid of Djoser, suggesting to me that this place is really old, or just maybe a clue that it's really old. Now here are just a few more peaks from around step pyramid, and you can just clearly see the different types of construction techniques and how this place is actually buried in the sand. And what we can see today above ground, Google Earth gives you a good look today. Now here is an aerial view of the step pyramid and the buried ruins that surround it. And what is most fascinating, as I said before, is what is under the ground here. But this just gives you a good aerial look at the surrounding ruins. And is there other ruins in this area that suggest a much more ancient past? Well, the Serapeum, I believe, is right up in 1837. When the gentleman wrote his book, he said he searched for the Serapeum, but he could not find it. I just wanted to mention that. Now here we have one more look overhead. The Pyramid of Degrees, or the Pyramid of Djoser, as historians call it. And I believe right up here is the Serapeum with these massive underground granite sarcophagus. A real explanation for these has really not been given. I just wanted to show you that. But a thing I have never mentioned, and I'm sure some of you have never heard of this, this is called the Great Enclosure. This is 650 meters long by 350 meters wide. Historians give it no proper explanation. I've read a few attributions to this place, one written by Mark Lehner, who tries to attribute it to a pharaoh of one of the early dynasties, and his reasoning almost made me giggle, but at least he gave it an attempt. But some historians call this the oldest structure in all of ancient Egypt. I just wanted to mention that. There is no pyramid in the middle. The true purpose of this is lost to history, and so is the ancient name. But obviously a structure on such a massive scale obviously had some importance. Totally lost to us today. Just reading a little more here, it says the step pyramid has been thoroughly examined and investigated over the last century, and it is now known that the building process went through many different stages and there were a few false starts. Imhotep seems to have first begun building a simple mastaba tomb. The highest mastaba was 20 feet 6 meters, but Imhotep decided to go higher. And just reading a little bit further here from a gentleman who documented the history of Saqqara, it says Imhotep reproduced in stone what had been previously built of other materials. The facade of the enclosure wall had the same niches as the tombs of mud brick. The columns resembled bundles of reed and papyrus, and sewn cylinders at the lintels of doorways represented rolled-up reed screens. Much experimentation was involved, which is especially clear in the construction of the pyramid in the center of the complex. And he's maybe talking about maybe that original construction made with those much older bricks, or those stones that are perfectly carved. Just a thought. It had several plants with mastaba forms before it became the first step pyramid in history, piling 6 mastaba-like levels on top of one another. The weight of the enormous mass was a challenge to the builders, who placed the stones at an inward incline in order to prevent the monument from breaking up. And I have no doubt that Djoser and Imhotep built on this site, but it's clear from other evidence that so did many other pharaohs. So was Imhotep given the attribution of this monument just because his inscription and his statue seem to be the most impressive to Egyptologists? Well, that is all a great question. Now, I will leave the link for this website below, but it gives an artist's reconstruction of what this complex looked like, and it gives a little diagram here, a theory on how this was reconstructed over time, over an original construction that was here originally. And this kind of matches those perfectly constructed stones that I showed you on Google Earth. And here is that descending passage below. Now here gives you an idea of what lies under the step pyramid at Saqqara. Tunnels, chambers, rooms, a massive shaft coming down, and this tomb, they say, is of Djoser. Well, the sarcophagus appears to be a small 3.5 foot long granite sarcophagus that is purely symbolic, just as in the Great Pyramid. They say, Djoser's body was stolen out of this tiny sarcophagus, just as Khufu's was at the Great Pyramid, and that is all a bunch of bunk. It's all symbolic. And the tomb chamber, they say that it was redone, and it was redone in red granite, and originally it was alabaster. So if it was redone in red granite, which is some of the oldest construction material in Egypt, how old was the original symbolic tomb? I just find that fascinating, and I thought I would mention it. So those are just a few of my thoughts on the Pyramid of Djoser, as historians call it. There is an ancient name for this place, the Pyramid of Degrees. It is located next to the ancient Serapeum and the Great Enclosure, which really historians have given no good answer for. But I think serious questions need to be asked as far as the attribution of this place. Some things appear to be clearly symbolic, but yet they are said to be another thing. We need to question the Egyptologists' attribution and dating of these pyramids. I think there is a hint of a much deeper past. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.